But I broke that cycle. I broke the chain. And I didn't make that an excuse to keep doing what I'm doing because of the environment that I'm in. You can break that. Don't fall prey to the devil. That's why we have to watch what we say in our music because young ears are listening. When I was in forensics, man, I was at the medical examiner's office, and he used to work for another funeral home, and he used to come out and pick the bodies up. So I base a lot of my sound off of the funk, originating in funk and like I said, the classic R&B because I love the loops, I love the style, I love the patterns, how they create back in the day.
Hello, family and friends. Welcome to another Talks with Liem. This is available to the billions around the world on YouTube in 4K and audio streaming services like Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. And now onto the podcast. All right, D-Kompose. So tell me the story of you, which starts with
what up?
Mortician to rap music. And I mean, obviously, D-Kompose as your name. There's obviously a mortician background in there, or I guess once you know that you have a mortician background, that really makes more sense. So what do you want to start with? What do you want to talk about?
Okay, well, I'm gonna start with the name D-Kompose. I was first starting out in music at age 5, and I'm a drummer, and there was two things in life that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a musician, and my family. There's a long line of musicians in my family. My father, he was on the road with Ike and Tina Turner, James Brown. He was on the road with Marvin Gaye and a lot of the other greats. Right. Yeah. So growing up in the house, it was a lot of fun. But like I said, as a baby, well, I'm not gonna say too much as a baby, but as a child, I didn't get an opportunity to go out on the road with them. Due to me being a child. Mm-hmm. And then my uncle, who's my manager, Allen Magic Land Management, he was in the funk group. And where I'm from, Dayton, Ohio. And by the way of, I was also raised up in Pittsburgh. Dayton, Ohio, our city, man, we have originated and we have spawned a lot of funk groups such as Roger Troutman, Zap, Ohio Players, Platypus, Phaso, Heatwave, Lakeside, Group Slave, and have an A-list of actors as well. But just being around that, I got into hip hop, and my name back then was Sir Rap. So when I was on the road and I came out to California, I worked with a producer, and he was like, "Man, your lyrics strong, and your name weak." So because it was Sir Rap. And what it is, it was the initials in my name, Russell Alexander Pryor. Yeah, serving it right. So as I, I'm skipping through this stuff, but we'll touch base. And I'm just giving you the original, starting the original with the D-Kompose. This is how it came about. So he told me, he said, "Hey man, if I was you, I would change my name." He said, "Follow your heart and do you. Follow your heart and just come up with a concept for your stage name." So I sat. I was in the funeral profession, and I was like, you know what, man, D-Kompose, because I messed with a lot of decomposed bodies, being in the business, and working on them. I won't say messing with them, but worked on them. So I was like, that's a cool name right there. And I said, "What do you think about this name?" I gave him a call. I said, D-Kompose. He was like, "Shit." He said, "I like that." He's like, "We're going to go with that." So, as I said, he told me to follow my heart, do me, and we'll take it from there. And from there, man, everybody loved the name D-Kompose. When I'm on stage, when I'm rocking other cities, other states, they love it. So being in the business, you stay true to what you know. And that's what I did. So
Awesome.
D-Kompose, that's how it came about. It came about through my producer and me just coming up with the name. So
How long were
yeah,
you working as a mortician before or actually you've been in the music industry the whole time. So it
right.
was,
I've been right flipping flopping, but my thing is, I started. There was two things in life I wanted to do. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a mortician, and following my father and my uncle's footsteps, being in these big bands. Um, I said, but I want to do something else. And you know, the words of my mother, she's like, "You're gonna always have to have a backup plan." You know, the A is, you know, you're doing your music, but B side, what would you like to do? I decided that I wanted to be a mortician at age 11. So what happened that got me in that position, and it, you know, I tell a lot of people it was a calling from God, man. At that age, I never forget my mother was making arrangements on my sister's godmother, and the undertaker came out. Back then, they come to your house before they take you to the funeral home to pick out caskets and stuff. So he picked us up. He was going over the brochures at the house. He said, "Now we're going to go to the funeral home." And we went to the funeral home. She was looking at clothes. She was, you know, getting caskets together, looking at that. So he took us downstairs where the casket selection room, the selection room was. So me at age 11, I'm just looking at stuff, man. No, matter of fact, I'm sorry. I think I not 11. I was about 9. I was looking at this stuff, man, and just looking around, and I didn't notice they went back upstairs. So I was in the casket selection room all by myself. So I wasn't scared of anything. So after that, I was like, wow, I'm here by myself. So I'm looking at these caskets. I'm looking at these headstones, and I was like, interesting. So as I got older, I was looking at the big picture. I was like, man, these guys are making bank. So I decided at age 12, start working for a funeral home in my city. And I used to see how his swag was, man. He was a cold piece, man. He some fat cars. He had the nice big house. He had property. And I was like, this is something I can handle besides doing music. So I stuck with it, man. I was in the business since age 12, but I was also doing music. I was playing drums at my church. So I was juggling between church, hitting the road, because I played with some funk bands as well. I was one of the youngest drummers in my city, and started playing, you know, with the funk bands before hip hop evolved. And then on Saturdays, I worked at the funeral home because I wasn't old enough to have, you know, the 8 to 5. So they gave me a break doing, you know, Saturday stuff. And what I would do, man, I would, you know, help little old ladies out of the church. I would set up the flowers at the cemetery. I would do indoor, outdoor maintenance, such as cleaning. I would work funeral services, riding in the hearse, which was the biggest thing for me at that time in my age. And I would help every now and then as that age, you know, help dress. I got my experience just doing a little dressing with the big undertakers. So the name of the company back then was called Bowman Funeral Chapel. That's who I worked for. And then from there, as I got older, I started working with a company called Thomas Funeral Home. These are mom and pop operations, which both men are very successful. The one is dead, Bowman, God rest his soul. He's no longer here. But Thomas Funeral Home is still exists very well, very established. His children are taking over the business now. So I'm very honored to get that type of experience to put me on my quest to be in the business. So, and then, like I said, I was juggling between doing shows and performing at church and doing other things. And then when hip hop evolved, that's when I went bananas. So that's when I started really getting into stuff. And at the same time, you know, working at these funeral homes on the weekends and recording. So that's it. Just doing a lot of that stuff.
What music genres or bands, types of music that do you like use as your fundamentals for you when you create music? What are you basing your music off of, or what experience and what type of flavors of music?
You know, the flavors of music, man. I really love funk and just how the sound of funk is, man. And I like classic R&B, so I try to, when I'm creating beats, and if I'm working with producers, they know the sound that I want. But at the same time, me as a drummer, I like that hard edge, snapping of the snare, bopping of the bass. I like to have that. And I really love hi-hat. So I base a lot of my sound off of the funk, originating in funk and like I said, the classic R&B, because I love the loops. I love the style. I love the patterns, how they create back in the day, especially in James Brown being one. So how his sound was just so tight. I mean, he had a tight knit band, and everything was on the one, as he says. And that's how I like my music, being on the one, and just don't lag at nothing that you do when you create. You have to come out and have your own style, have your own sound, but you can pattern your foundation after some of the groups that put hip hop where it is now. So those elements.
Name like 3 or 5 funk bands, 3 or 5 hip hop, and 3 or 5 R&B bands that kind of like you would name as something that has influenced you a lot.
Okay, one of the groups is a funk band named Slave. That's out of my city. I love them, man, and we're very good friends. One is like my big brother, Floyd Miller. Peace up to him. Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton. George Clinton. I love their music. Myself after them as well. And Roger Troutman and Zapp. So these are all 3 funk bands. And then as far as hip hop is Run DMC, EPMD, and my other group is not Lords of the Underground. I'm sorry, they're tight too. I did a show with some of them cats. LL Cool J.
Okay.
And then R&B groups, man. I love the Gap Band, Morris Day. Well, you know what? Morris Day and the Time will be considered funk, but they have some R&B, a lot of R&B classics. Prince, I'll put him in the category, even though they say he's pop. I don't think he's pop, man, because he has a serious catalog with a lot of good R&B joints. So I'll say the Gap Band, I'll say the SOS Custom Made. So they're tight as well. So
I think my internet seems to be really on the fritz. It keeps on
jumping up and down on you.
Yeah, this is I haven't seen it this bad in a very long time. I guess we'll just keep on trying to go for it. Today's, I mean, we don't have 2 co-hosts. I had one light go out right like 10 minutes prior, so I had to fix that. I'm actually using a different light than I'm used to, so we're limping along today.
Right.
So how about what's your just? I know I've seen some musicians where they'll even look at like rock music, heavy metal, or I'm trying to think of other ones like old big bands. What flavors of music is kind of not really in your wheelhouse, but yet you take influence from something that's outside of your kind of outside.
One group. Tell you one group I really love, man, and some people may be surprised. I'm into Van Halen.
Oh, okay.
And I have their best album to me, man. I heard a lot of their stuff. My best album, and this is the only one I have of them, is 1984. And I love Jump. I love Hot for Teacher, but Jump is my all-time favorite song because I love Alex Van Halen, how he plays the drums on that song. And me, it's just something about being a drummer, man. You take notes of other drummers.
Oh yeah.
And I played Jump before, and I nailed it. Thing is, I saw what he has done. I listened to how he does his you know, his roles and just his pattern, man. And I took some notes off of that. So the heavy metal scene, I'm into too many of the groups, but just certain a selection of groups that I like. Van Halen being one, and then I like some of the much of the heavy metal. Some of these groups because they're not heavy metal. Heads, I like them. I was in the Devo. Nothing real hard. On Judas Priest. I wasn't in a lot of them groups. It was they're nice, man. I mean, not knocking it. I have some heavy metal songs on this new album I'm getting ready to drop, and one of them is called 5150 Ass Undertaker. So that's pretty heavy metal. It's pretty wild because I got a some hip hop beats behind it, something new.
Nice. Let me kind of throw a story.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll just tell you kind of a story, then maybe you could think of how it connects with your music career or experience. So when I've played guitar since I was 12, and today I only like pick up the guitar every few months and I play it. But one of the most amazing feelings in life for me, all of my 39 years of life, was being in a band. When I'm playing my guitar, I make a riff, drummer comes in, and then the lead guitarist comes in and adds something. The bassist comes in, he adds his lines, and then the singer's like, this sounds pretty good. Like then the singer might try to make, you know, one or two lines, and then we get a rhythm going, and all that moment, man, that there's a magical feeling when music is, I don't know how to explain it. The music, the beat, it hits you. You're creating something out of thin air. Everyone else is creating something out of thin air, and you're all connecting on this magical level. It's amazing. I feel like, so I'm not huge into rap, but when I do watch certain videos of rappers creating, mixing, and working in the studios, I feel like I see that moment when they find a beat, and then they get some lyrics on there, and then either the beat drops or whatever. Like I think I see that in them. So now, from your experience, there's some things that you've worked on. Do you feel that?
But you know what, man? I feel you on that, because what you're doing, like you said, you got together with a lot of your musicians friends, and you're building a foundation. And if you have something that you want to get off your chest and you want to put it down, you're with a lot of seasoned musicians that can pick up the pattern that you just laid. And see, that's one of the groups I used to be with. My bassist, man, one of the coldest bassists. He lives in Mississippi now. This is one of my cats, man. His name is Tony Jones. We call him Bassman Jones. And when we used to practice, it was us. It was me, the bass, the guitar player, the percussionist, the lead singer. We had a keyboardist. And that's how you create, man. You just, every mind just get together, and somebody would just lay a pattern. Like you just said, you pick up your guitar and you do what you need to do. And as a drummer, when I would hear him throw down on the bass, and I'm like, yo, man, I was like, did you just create that? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, let me put a little taste to it. And he'll do his thing. And next thing you know, man, I'm like, you know, them drum licks, because I'm vibing off of him, and that gets me hyped. That's like when I'm doing hip hop, like I can do my lyrics either way. I can create this away, right? Without any music, or if I hear some music somebody's putting together for me, such as other producers, I will go in and just pin it, and I will pin it so quick because I'm so hyped. But I'm vibing off their spirit, and we create magic together. So what you're doing, you just build the foundation with the other musicians that you know, seasoned musicians that you're playing with. And creativity, man, is the best. It is, especially when you're building the foundation. You're not copying or jocking nobody else's style. You're coming up with your own creativity. And that in the music business today, that's what you need. I don't want to sound like Run DMC. I don't want to sound like these new cats that's out. I'm not trying to sound like Ludacris. I'm not trying to sound like, you know, anybody. I'm sounding like D-Kompose. And that's why a lot of people love my style, and like a lot of my music is worldwide because I'm an independent artist. And one thing that I love about the platforms and the internet and everything else, these digital platforms, is you send your stuff into the music, because I have a digital distribution deal. I had one with Island Def Jam. I have one with my latest one with you see in the background, that right there, the Three It Up album. That's when I was with Universal Music Group, but that marriage didn't work out, so that contract was up. But it's just the fact that I'm, just vibing and creating and putting the music out there with the help of my team. It's magic, because I did the major stuff. I have the major distribution deal, but I was also signed to a major label, as at a young age and old enough to know better. But at the same time, man, it's you gotta watch as well as pray when you get in this business, because it's 95% business, 5% show. So you really have to be on your toes and do what you need, do what you need to do to protect yourself. And I learned very well by my father and my uncle, who manages me, and as well as other groups. So you have to know your stuff. You don't want to, when you're creating, like you just said, doing your music, you don't want anybody to take your stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when you have, so your copyrights and everything else under the sun, and you want to do the best you can with what you have, because that's your music, man. You created that. Nobody else to be able to take that away from you. So, like I said, it's 95% business, 5% show. So handle your business and protect yourself, and keep on creating.
Where do you think if you could say a majority of the meaning of your songs and whatnot, do you take it from a certain time of your life, or more current, or just the whole spectrum? And do you find that you go to a certain place, maybe when you remember when you're younger, and you're making music now, kind of remembering when you're younger? Or I'm just throwing out random ideas.
Right, no, and that's a good question. I get motivated. Excuse me. I get motivated by things that's happened in my life, good or bad, and that's how I get into the creative mindset of producing these records. Especially one joint that I have out, I did a while back. That was pretty good. It was called The Funeral Home. And it's, self-explanatory. Things that goes on in the funeral home, things that I've done. And then there's another joint that's coming out it's called Respect the Sacrifice. And that's a motivator to me, because what that's about, it's about people before me getting into hip hop and creating the lane for all of us to do what we need to do. We don't disrespect them. The pioneers that came before us. We have to respect the sacrifice, because they did a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get in the game and do what they need to do. Now, ones that I work with that look up to me, they respect me. So the thing is, they respecting my sacrifice, because there was platforms that I used to give people. When I used to have night spots, I had a hip hop club called The Graveyard. And what I was doing, I was giving a lot of breaks to unsigned talent. And because I would always hear there's no places to perform in this city. And when they try to go to other clubs to perform, they didn't want to let hip hop artists perform. So I said, I'm going to take it up on myself to create and do something for the culture. So I did that, had a lot of success. Matter of fact, I'm working on a new joint called Two Turntables and a Mic. So that's going to be a new hip hop spot coming out soon as well. But that's how, my motivations that I do in life, through love relationships. I have something called what is it called? Blowing My Mind. That's on the album as well, that'll be coming out. And that was a little the ups and downs of a relationship. And then I got a lot of joints on this new album. I think matter of fact, I sent you the cover and the title sheet. So every joint on there is motivation and just life's experience that I went through. I have another joint called House Full of Crazies. that's a new joint that's gonna be dropping. So that was an experience of something I went through. And then
Awesome.
Trainwreck and 5150, yeah, Ass Undertaker and a lot of other joints. So those are inspirations and things that I went through. So
If for people that
yep.
are trying to get into the music industry and or just starting, what advice would you have? What advice would you give them?
Don't give up, because a lot of people get in this game and say how hard it is. It's only hard if you make it hard, but things don't happen overnight. And like with me and my record label, Graveyard Recordings, I listen to a lot of demos, but I'm listening to things that's already been patterned. Don't come at me and trying to be the next NWA. Don't come at me trying to be the next Eazy-E, Ice Cube, or whatever. They already made that pattern. Come be creative. Come up with something, a new style for yourself. But this game is not hard, and people don't realize you're so close to getting what you want, you end up quitting. And once you get so far and you quit, it's hard to get back on again. You know what I mean? You got to start all over on that road again. But my advice, as I said, is don't give up, man. Keep God first. Pray on what you need to do. Don't be a quitter, and go for yours. Be creative. Come up with your own style. That's like what the name D-Kompose. I had to have a person such as my producer who told me, your lyrics are harder than your name. If I was you, I would change that name. And just taking his advice, I said, you know what, he's right. So I had to dig deep into my heart, follow my heart, and like I told you in the beginning, and just do what you need to do. Stay in your lane and do you. And you'll come up with something. You have to have something out there that people are gonna really like. I hear it all the time, man. Excuse my French. I'm sick and tired of hearing about bitches, drug dealing, killing, stealing, all that stuff. People are into party anthems now. That's what we're getting back. Party anthems. They want to have a good time. They want a lease on life, man. They don't want to keep hearing about people putting each other lights out. That's boring. It's old. And you have to be creative. We know you grew up in the hood. We know you did a lot of things. We've all done a lot of stuff on some of my records that's this new album that's coming out, man. I mean, as far as dealing in drugs and everything else under the sun, I knew who was doing what, and I was running the streets, but I never participated in that. There was plenty of opportunities that I could have done that, because I've been approached many a times, especially in the music game, and that runs hand in hand, drugs and music. And you can research that all the way back to like 1940s, 50s, and 60s, when these bands was out, even with heavy metal. They got hooked on dope. They was doing heroin, they was doing cocaine, they was doing everything under the sun. So that runs hand in hand with the music business. But you don't have to partake in that. I was always taught you can go to the party, but you don't have to partake in the party. So, just stay clear and do your thing. But I don't want to really talk about so much of that on wax, because I have a lot of young fans, man, a lot of ears, especially these babies. They're coming up, and like my son, man, he's 11 years old, and that's why I named the album the Snooker Book album Phantasm, because this is going out to the fans who follow me for a long time. And I put out a lot of singles, but they were like, when is the album dropping? So I decided to just do an album. And like I said, man, I'm very thankful for the distribution companies that gave me these DB deals. And I did pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good with the wax. And as far as money, if it wasn't for hip hop, man, I wouldn't have graduated Mortuary College. Hip hop was part of my finances to put me through school, because I paid my own way through Mortuary College. So, me performing in LA, and then I also had an 8 to 5. But, the 8 to 5 I was working with at the time, and I had a family, I was married at the time, and I had, my 2 oldest ones, they were babies then. But I was in Mortuary College while my wife at the time, she had them. And I was taking care of all of us on low salaries, but my hustle and my grind was strong. And I thank her for standing in there, with me, and there was some ups and downs and times where she really didn't understand on why I'm doing what I'm doing and performing and coming home late and doing these things. I said, because this is something I want to do, and this is something that you'll be proud of. And like my son, I have 4 children. I have 3 sons and a daughter. And they told me, my oldest son told me, he said, Dad, he said, you know what, man, we have never ever wanted for nothing because of you. And you know, that made me feel good. And he's a producer himself. And matter of fact, he just finished graduating with his master's degree in music. So out of Virginia State, and he went to so he's doing his thizzle, man. He goes by the name of Rusty P. But just to hear him say that, and my other son Romel, Rusty P, man, he both of my sons patterned themselves after me. And my daughter was into music as well, but she ventured off and did something else in fashion. And she's into a lot of the hotel industry, where she wants to own her own hotel one day. So I was like, good for you. And I said, whatever I can do to help, I'll do that. But it's you know, the music, man. Music is my life. And like, I have 5 other acts that's on my label. And one of the guys, one of my artists named Joe Black, he's out of Paris, Kentucky. He's getting ready we're in the 4th quarter. We're getting ready to come up on that like in July. So he'll be coming out with his single called It's Just Me. But it's just the thing of young ears, and people are watching what I'm doing. And I want to, you know, continue to make certain people proud, man, and doing what I need to do, especially these young fans. I don't want to turn their ears away. I want them ears glued on me. So, you know, I can give them hope and make them feel proud to get in this game, man, and just change the game and do something new.
For your son that has the degree in music, the master's in music, what conversations have you guys had about music? That'd be pretty interesting from your music background, your rapping, and then his schooling, his academic teaching.
I'm sorry. Go finish. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, his academic background in music. It'd be interesting what conversations you guys would have.
He's totally into hip hop. He did percussion ensemble. That's what his major was in reading and writing music. Like I said, he's a producer, man, big producer doing his thing. We have great conversations. Matter of fact, his professor, he was asking me some questions. He's like, Dad, he said, my professor, man, he just loves talking to you know this game. And he said some tests were about the like he said, we touched on the subject about Def Jam and how Def Jam was started and the things that go into creating a label, contracts, and because he wants to also be a entertainment lawyer, and one of his classes was the music business. So he did very well in that, and this is where he got one of his masters. His bachelor's is in percussion ensemble. Then he went on to get his master's to continue in music, where he could teach as well. But we had those great conversations. You know, what to look for in the business, what not to look for in the business, contract with negotiation, publishing, marketing, promoting, things of that nature. And I'm very proud of him because he was in a contest, man, and he beat out 300 producers and won $10K. So this was one of the guys' name is producers is Hit Boy, and he was in his contest. And Hit Boy just received 2 Grammys by producing Nas's stuff. So he's been doing his thing with that. And, you know, like I said, I'm very proud of him. He's taking it to the next level. And matter of fact, he wants to do a couple of joints for me. And I was asking him, I said, yeah, I would like that, you know, produce some tracks for your dad. So where I can give to my other artists and let them feed off of that vibe. But he's hot right now, man. He's hot. My other son, Romel, does his thing, man. He was playing the cello up with an upright bass, and he's really into that. So he's into music. And then my son, Ryan, He's the baby. That's the one I named the album after, the Snooker Book album. He's in the drums. So Russell plays the drums, Ryan is playing the drums now, and Romel's into the strings. And my daughter, she was blowing sax at one time, but she gave the music thing up and just started getting the fashion. So, but she loves her music. But yeah, so that's it, man. Just, you know, teaching and schooling them on what to look for in the game, what not to look for. And like with Russell, publishing contracts, well, publishing, which I have, marketing, promoting, and you know, points in the business. So you can get, you know, you make your money and you need to get paid for your craft.
What was so you say from the age of 5, was it your dad got you into music, or he was in the music, or your family was in music, your dad and whatnot, so you got in? Mm-hmm. What were some of the things that you felt directly impacted you? As in, like, you could be around it, but what do you remember? Like, do you remember hearing the drums when you were young? Do you remember hearing your dad or mom sing in the kitchen? What was it that, like, do you think got into your bones? The music got into your bones, if that makes sense.
Here, it makes a lot of sense. For me was because my mother has a beautiful voice too. She was singing in the choir at church. My father, man, he's one of God rest his soul. He died in 2006, but he was one of the coldest saxophonists ever. He also played the Hammond B5, the piano, and the keys. And just hearing how he structured, you know, around the house, he read music, how he structured his chords, how he had a beautiful voice too, just songwriting skills. But they used to get on me a lot because at my age, I used to go around the house just beating on tables, beating on cups and my mother's dishes, and I was just bananas, man. And you know, it's like, damn it, boy, would you quit making all this noise? You know, I'm just picking up stuff, forks and spoons, man, and just, you know, just my timing down and just getting my beats. And after a while, they got tired of it. But I was like, you know, I'm spawning off of you. You the one that got me into this. So they got me a drum set, but it was just his style and hearing him play, you know, the keys and the saxophone, and then boom with this drum set, and just hearing just the bass of the floor bass and the snare. That's what really took off for me. But it was him. It started with him, with the saxophone and the keyboard. And I was like, okay. And then, you know, you bouncing your head and you got your style and the pattern. You listening to the rhythm. So you have to pick up the rhythm, and you're on time when I'm hearing him, and then me just clapping my hands, and like, you know, clapping your hands when you're in church or wherever. You hear the beat.
Yep.
And I'm just listening to him, and then it was crazy, man. So growing up in my house was a lot of fun musically.
So I'll give a little bit of a story on me with music, and then maybe you could reflect on it. I mean, your story of picking up, hitting cups in the kitchen and stuff, that makes sense. But also maybe you could reflect even on your children too, your influence on your children's early age with music. But so mine's kind of in the other realm, where I actually wish music would have impacted me earlier. Unfortunately, the earliest memory I kind of have of music was probably like 9 years old, where my uncle, two of my uncles were listening to Van Halen, Pink Floyd, Rush, Guns N' Roses. And, but that was at the age of 9 that I remember. And the issue that I think, so I play guitar and I'm okay at guitar. I'm just okay. I can make a few riffs here and there, but I'm not, I know when I play with another musician, and then I've had some friends that were learning guitar the same age I was, but there's some magic behind them where, man, they pick up that guitar and they learn so fast. They make up all these riffs, and you could tell they have a music bone in them, where I don't have a music bone. What I've learned, I feel like I just learned through the hard way, like reading notes or going watching a video somewhere and mimicking that, but it took me forever.
Right.
Where they watch it once and they got it. They're like,
Okay.
I'm like, what? How are you doing that? Like, you're amazing. So I have so many friends that just surpass me in music. So I feel like, for as much as I love music, I feel like you almost have to be raised at this, like, before the age of 5 to have that music get into your body. Like, as I know that doesn't sound, I guess, logical, but I think it really does have to get into your brain at an early age.
Right.
So I've been in a couple bands, but I honestly, I feel like I was always like the person holding back the band, unfortunately, but I still had a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends, they had a lot of fun too. So now, speaking of, I wish I would have had, like, I know my dad played guitar, but for whatever reason, I think he was working 3 jobs back then, come home. He didn't have time to play guitar. So I don't think I got to hear it as much. So thinking about your children and maybe even back to you hitting cups in the kitchen, at an early age, what were some of the musical stories that affected your children or you?
Funny you should say that, because I have a lot of video. My youngest one, and he, I was shocked, man. He didn't know I was videotaping one time, videotaping him, and he was just beatboxing. I mean, he was on it, and I was like, wow, he must have heard me around this house when I'm trying to do, create beats. And so he finally saw when I was videotaping him, and he stopped. I said, nah, keep going. And then he, right then and there, I say this, you have to feel the music. That's like when anything you do in life that inspires you, you pick it up quick. He picked that pattern up because I was an inspiration to him, and he was watching it. And then he started to beat, Russell started beating on tables, chairs, picking up forks and knives and spoons, and hitting cups, hitting pans, frying pans that we had, in the kitchen, just doing a lot of stuff. It's just, if you have it, you have it. Like with me, for example, I'm self-taught in the drums. Now, I took drum lessons in high school and grade school, but me and some other partners, we got kicked out of the classes because we were jamming so much, and we didn't want to stick to the script, but it was just natural born talent. Now, I'm not saying everybody is talented in their own way, whatever they want to do. There may be some things you can do I can't do, and I'll be like, with you, hey man, how'd you do that? Like, people like my one son, Romel, he is a talent, man. He can draw, and I didn't know he could draw the way he draws. He draws like a certified artist, man. And it's just, how can I say it? It's just, he's just talented. He's just talented in the way he did, the way he does things. And like with Russell, it's just a natural born instinct to do the things that you love to do. If you love something so much, you're gonna find out, and you're gonna find a way, and you're gonna learn how to do it. And that's basically the inspiration that I gave my children. I was like, don't be like me, be better than me. And as I tell them, I said, I'm gonna do what I can to help you out, but you have to have the knack, the style, and the drive for this. I'm going to lay the foundation for you, but you have to build your own house. And you just have to have it. You just have to have that natural talent. And people can get it, but you have to practice. You have to hone your craft and practice the things that you need to do to make yourself better.
So you said you were raised in Pittsburgh?
Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, Dayton,
but
Ohio.
I was also raised up in Pittsburgh as well.
So let's go back in time and kind of decompose, like as in where in your childhood do you think the music, what memories do you have with music that started you? And I mean, from the kitchen playing with the cups and spoons and whatnot, just, I mean, what were you like as a child? Were you outgoing, troublemaker? Were you always in? And
I'm
then
gonna tell
maybe,
you. No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
Or I mean, and then you could even talk about like how your parents raised you, what their what the economic times was like back then. Just, yeah, just dive into all of it.
Okay. Was very hyper. Hyper. I was a clown. I was very mischievous, man. I was always into something. Especially in high school, I wanted to be like Richard Pryor, but at the same
Mm.
time, I I did some dirt. You know, I love the honeys. I used to chase a lot of shorties. Had fun, doing my thing, man, running the streets and just hyperactive, man, just all over the place. As one person used to tell me, I'm always over here. I'm always doing this. I slow down? Do you ever rest? That's why you're always tired, because I'm all over. Like I said, I'm just all over the place. So even now, uh, I love being busy. And if that's being hyper, then oh well, I'll take that. But from Dayton to Pittsburgh, I'm gonna tell you something about when you were saying when you just asked me about the foundation. My mother's from Pittsburgh. My grandparents are from Pittsburgh, and some of my aunts and uncles. When I wasn't in Dayton in the winter, when I wasn't in Dayton in the summertime, I was in Pittsburgh, up there listening to music and hanging out with my cousins. I stayed up in places up in Pittsburgh, Penn Hill, Hazelwood, Carnegie. My grandparents were from Carnegie, and I would stay up there with my aunts and some of my uncles, and then like I said, Hazelwood, Penn Hill. We had some relatives in Jeanette, Pennsylvania. We had relatives in um, Swickley, PA, and just all over. Then I have relatives up in New York, and I was always visiting up in New York as well, Buffalo, New York. And the music scene was very heavy up there with a lot of my cousins that introduced me to a lot of stuff. So I had basically a large foundation of music from how I heard my first, and in New York, man, they had everything, all the hip hop sounds. And I started getting into DJing as well, listening to a cat up there by the name of DJ McDonald. And he was just doing some stuff we never did back in Dayton. So when my summer was up, I would go back to Dayton and I would bring some of them principles back that he introduced me to that tripped a lot of people out back in Dayton. But as a kid, just hearing how my aunts and uncles up in Pittsburgh, man, they would play Roberta Flack, they would get into Teddy Pendergrass, they would get into James Brown, they would play some Ike and Tina Turner, the Whispers, the Four Tops, the Temptations. I grew up with a lot of sound listening to that stuff, man. And when I hear certain songs of that, it's nostalgic, man. It just reminds me. I said, man, you remember this song that came on and we got our butts whooped in Pittsburgh being on the train tracks. One of my uncles tore us up. It was like 6 or 7 of us, nephews and nieces. And when we were in Pittsburgh, we used to play on the train tracks, and they used to tell us to stay off the tracks because people got killed on the train tracks. And so one day, man, he tore into us, man, and certain songs that I remember that was playing at that time when I was getting my butt whipped, it brings back those memories. So like you were saying, what do I remember as a child musically, and just things growing up? Growing up in the '70s, man, was so cool, so cool, and I learned a lot. Like I said, growing up musically, it's in a lot of the music. Like I said, man, it just brings back so many memories of my childhood, and certain songs. Like as the '80s came, that's when I was running around. The '80s was ours, and just a lot of just a lot of mischievous stuff that I got into. And like I said, I knew a lot of things that was popping in the street because I ran the streets. There was a difference between being in the streets, running the streets. If I got tired of the streets, I could go home. But this was the thing. My parents told me whatever I done in the streets, you're not coming in this house if you're doing that stuff because you no longer live here. So whatever you do in the street, you leave it out in the street. But I would always tell them, rest assured, it wasn't nothing like that. But and like I said, man, I knew who was doing what, and it wasn't none of my business as long as you weren't in my business. You know, in my business, your business is your business, my business is my business.
Is Dayton, Ohio a rough neighborhood at all, or is it a nice neighborhood?
It is, man. It is. Dayton at the time when we was coming up, it was cool, man. But the 80s, 90s, and now it's bananas. And like you can research Dayton and see what's going on with the crime and everything else under the sun. It's I love going home. I know not to go. I mean, even where it's supposed to go, people know me and they respect me because about respect, and I don't get too much involved in things that I need to do with other people's business. That's why I'm a survivor. I respect you, you respect me. I'm over to the left. You know, you stay to the right, and you know, I've had partners that I know, man, that are no longer here with me, especially back in Dayton. God rest their souls. But it's you know, there's crime everywhere. But Dayton, I still love. And there's no place like home, man. You never know where you're going unless you know where you've been. And I would never turn my back on my city. My city made me who I am today. And I think being in Pittsburgh as well, just a foundation, strong foundation with parents, man, and grandparents and aunts and uncles, and just, you know, showing me around the burg, my history, my culture. Just I have so many relatives that are up there now, and when it was time, and me and my brother Tommy, he was born in Pittsburgh as a baby, and then they came to Dayton with him. It was just me and him. We were only two grandchildren in the house, so Pittsburgh was always on our map, and we would be so happy when we were children. They say, "We're going to Pittsburgh, yay!" You know, summertime. Bam, I'm gone. And I used to tell a lot of my friends. They say, "Man, where you been?" I said, "I've been in Pittsburgh." And if I wasn't in Pittsburgh, I was up in Buffalo, New York, visiting. So East Coast heritage, man, and I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful, you know, for the opportunity to have East Coast parents. So, well, my father was from Paris, Kentucky, so he was Southern boy, but just my mother and aunts and uncles, Pittsburgh and in between Pittsburgh and Dayton. So,
it seems like it seems like everyone in the sense of like each generation is getting better, or it's getting better and better. In essence, like when my grandma, when she lived in Vietnam, there was the Vietnam War, but that's a big difference. But then my mom, she had it tough when she came here, but then, you know, she worked, made money, my dad and my mom, and then they made my life better. And then I'm sure if I had kids, then their lives would probably be much easier than my life. So it's like, when I hear about you, kind of a little bit of speaking about Dayton, Ohio, and Pittsburgh, a little bit of that kind of came to mind, where it sounded like your mom and dad and your grandma, grandpa, they had it a bit tougher, or they came through some tough times, economic times too, probably. So it's just interesting to think about how each generation.
Right, and that's what my grandfather.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Oh yeah, and I forgot to answer the one question you asked me about the not the financial aspect, but you know, trying to pull expenses together. That's one of the reasons why my grandfather came from Pittsburgh to Dayton, because it was a job opportunity up here for him. Because it was my grandmother and five children at the time, so he had a big family, and he came up here to make a better way. But he was always back and forth, you know, visiting Pittsburgh, and our relatives would come up to from Pittsburgh to Dayton. Relatives, a lot of relatives come up from Buffalo to Dayton, Ohio. You know, sit around, kick it in a large family, man, large family. So our relatives used to come up, and it was unity and love. And economically, they would pool their resources together. So really and truly, we never wanted for nothing anyway. We weren't rich, we weren't poor. We just had a lot of love, man. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, she would feed anybody. And there was times where, because I grew up in Dayton as well, called Residence Park. We call it the RP. And she lived on the hill, and we call it the 604 Maya Avenue, the hill. But when you come up to her house, you will always see cars either in the driveway or cars on the sidewalk. I mean, on the street, because people loved her that much that they would visit her, and she would feed anybody. That was just the love she had, and those same principles. That's like with me, man. I'm not a person that get upset. You really, I get upset, but you can't my button where I would lose it, because I never put myself in a position. It's because of the love that my grandmother taught me. And she always would say, you know, pray for people. And, you know, the thing about it is you don't never let nobody, because you don't give them that opportunity to let them know that they got you on the level where you want to snap. And like I said, man, I don't get mad. I get angry. There's a big difference between being mad and angry. You can calm and control your anger, but you can't control your madness. That's like when you hear the news, you hear there was a mad driver that pulled over and shot folks, or there was a madman that shot up a high school, grocery store, the movie house. They always say mad, but you never hear about nobody saying he was angry. So just as family unity, I'm saying that to say this, just a lot of love, and I try to practice that, man. And, I know some of the ills of the world can get you upset, get you angry, but I would never let nobody push my buttons to get me to the level where they make me snap, because you can't do that, and it'll never happen. So, but just that foundation that I have, man, and I thank them for that.
Do you think you mentioned earlier about that this next maybe generation of music is about partying and whatnot, and then a little bit of the music the prior generation, there's a lot of, like, would you say gangster rap and or hate rap? Would you just call it, I guess, gangster rap? So do you think it's just according to the environment that those people are in? Or so a lot of maybe the party music is coming from because a lot of the generations things are better. There's a lot more luxury. There's a lot more financial freedom of some sorts. So do you think, what's your kind of thoughts on that?
Like you said, the music that's being played now, man, it could be, I won't say it could be, it's the environment, certain environments that you live in, but you can break that cycle, man. There's a lot of stuff that's happened to me. I'm not going to get too much into that, but I broke that cycle. I broke the chain, and I didn't make that an excuse to keep doing what I'm doing because of the environment that I'm in. You can break that. Don't fall prey to the devil. And you have to just say within yourself, you know what, man, I'm sick and tired of doing the things that I'm doing. I'm tired of carrying a pistol. I'm tired of shooting at people. It's time for me to break this cycle, because just because my environment is doing it, and my brothers, a father and them, they may have been drug dealers or killers. What is that saying for me? Do I want to continue to pattern my life after that, or do I want a better life? Because now I'm getting into the point where I'm gonna have kids, if I don't have them already, and I got to raise my son or my daughter, and I don't want them to be disrespected in their generation coming up as well. So some of the music, man, it's negative press when you're making certain things in your environment, but you can flip the script. And you can take that negative and turn it into positive. That's like with me. I'm still hardcore when it comes to the lyrics. but I don't have to cuss on wax to get my point across. And I've done many songs. Like I got a joint called Hostile Takeover, and you've seen the video. And I was inspired that joint not because of the environment, but it was the situation at that time when my man shot up at Virginia. What is it? Virginia Tech. His name was Cho. When he took that 9mm and he was going around just capping people that he didn't like anymore. And I was inspired. He was hostile. So I wrote the joint called Hostile Takeover, and I dedicated to those folks. I dedicated it to Virginia Tech and those families that lost loved ones, because it made me angry. He did what he did. I was like, man, you have to flip the script. You don't kill people because you're angry. They didn't, a lot of those people didn't do anything to you. It was certain ones that made fun of you, but the whole school and the whole dorm room, you had some people that really liked you. So some of those people he spared, but some of them got caught up in the crossfire when he was doing his thing. But he didn't have a bad environment growing up. He just had a bad break in the situation he was in. But what I did, I flipped the script and turned it around and made a positive joint out of a bad situation. In your environment, you can do the same thing, man. You don't have to follow the pattern. Don't be what's that? What's the word I'm thinking of?
Like a follower?
Be a leader, not a follower.
Got it.
And if people are going to follow you as a leader, be a good leader, man. Don't be no bad leader. Be a positive leader. Yeah. So you can break the cycle, man. You don't have to continue to make bad music. And like I said, NWA, Eazy-E, Ice Cube, Ice-T, they did all that. And I knew all those guys, man. I met them cats. So, and they pattern their way. They pattern that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, do you think that does it continue the cycle? I guess in a way, does gangster rap in that sense, does it continue the cycle and make it worse, or is it a way to I think the thing is it's a way to reflect at the same time. So I don't know if it's does it continue the cycle, or does it allow time for reflection? And then what's your thoughts on that?
What I hear right now in the industry, it's not so much as it's kind of, how can I say, you said the reflection. Kind of slow down a little bit because it's in a new direction now, far as it's not so much as people shooting each other. The big thing now, man, is people they talk about oxycodone. They're talking about sipping on syrup. What is it? Percocet, codeine. These type of things that's associated now, not so much of gangsterism and going around shooting each other. It's taking, squaring up, smoking trees, taking these Percocets, oxycodone. It's now the music is about drugs. It's not so much as I'm gonna blow your head off, I'm gonna rob shorty, I'm gonna do this. It's about people wanting to get high now. And that's even dangerous because you succumb to that death for taking Percocet, codeine, your Odin, and then the big thing was the bath salts and methamphetamine, doing that. I think that because I haven't really heard too much gangster rap, I'm hearing more and more about let's do these Percocets, let's do this codeine, because children are here. The young parents like they might want to try this stuff, and for they little young bodies that haven't matured and haven't grown up yet, man, first Percocet they take, just somebody getting their rocks off trying to give it to them, they gonna die.
Yeah.
And it's the messy. You ever heard the Pied Piper?
Yeah, but I don't know much about it.
Okay, the Pied Piper was he blew a flute, a village, and everybody was hypnotized and mesmerized to his sound. And he was a leader, but they would follow him all around the city. I mean, all around the village when he was blowing his flute. Well, the flute. But I'm just saying, in general, music has an impact on a lot of generations. That's why we have to watch what we say in our music, because young ears are listening, and not only so much as the young ears, there are old ears that are listening to it as well, and they want to make comments about it. So as music, anybody, the way the world is, well, change it. Have a voice. Let people pattern after you. You don't have to follow the Pied Piper. Do what you need to do to get the job done, and just make meaningful music and pull your pants up.
Oh man,
that's whack, and that's old too, man. That's played out. And one of the reasons why I know some of the youth now changing and not listening to a lot of the garbage that's out, because a lot of them, man, especially I have needs in college, and it's about really and want to make a difference. They want to change, and education is the tool. And like some of these little shorties that's nice looking, that's out going to school, man, and doing their thing, they don't have time for riffraff. You won't get the time of day to talk to them because they don't want you. And when they tell you they don't want you, you get an attitude and get mad, want to call them a bitch and everything under the sun because your ego is crushed. You don't have to call them that. Be meaningful. Do something that's going to uplift these shorties that's being educated and doing what they need to do. Because colleges are starting to get packed, man. Because now people really seeing the garbage that's out there, and there's nothing going on. You want to make it. Everybody's into making millions. They want to up their game by making paper. They want to build with each other. They want to do this type of stuff. And so education is the key. And this is what a lot of these ladies are doing. And more of these women are really getting into school, man, because they want to rule the world. And they want to do leadership. And it's obvious because you have a vice president that's a woman. So that's a lot of hope for the next girls that's coming up. And it ain't about the color. She's an inspiration to all races. That's like Obama. He was a inspiration to every little race, man. Not so much as the black folks. But I'm saying that to say this. I know I'm switching gears, but the point of the matter is it's leadership. That's the whole thing, cut and dry. Be a leader, not a follower. Get in, do what you need to do to get the job done, and make something happen for yourself. Change the world. Michael Jackson wanted to change the world with his songs, and he had millions and millions of fans that loved his music. And he was making some meaningful music. It was inspirational, and he did what he needed to do. So it's just unfortunate that he died on trying to get the job done, but he made an impact, man, and that's what you want to do. You want to make an impact in the music business. You do, make it impact, Joe, because what you do can get on board and be like, I want to do what you do. And I have a lot of people that say that to me, wanting to get in the funeral profession. I've inspired them. How can I get in this game? And I let them know it's a lot of hard work. And first, you got to have the heart to do what I've done. To see dead bodies and things of that nature. And well, how can I get into pop? How can I get into music? I want to learn how to play the drum. You have to, like I told you in the beginning, you can do whatever you want to. It's up to you, your mind. Get your mind right. You can't get your mind right if you're still talking about bitches and hoes and excuse my French. I'm just saying that in general. I don't try to use that a lot, but you're not going to get anywhere with that. And young ladies, women are women. Ladies are not bitches. I don't even say the queen word because I call them empresses, because empresses are larger and more powerful than the queen. So I put you up on a higher level. You're not so much of a queen. The queens are cool, but empresses are even powerful. And like an emperor, he's higher than a king. So it's not so much as king. Yeah, I'm an emperor. I want everybody to be emperors, empresses and emperors. So
let's jump.
You know, okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You can finish up what you're saying.
No, I'm.
Wow, my internet's really bad. I don't know what's going on today. This is the worst I've seen it.
Because I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear over here.
Okay.
You're doing real good.
Let's jump to your career as a mortician. What age did you get started? So David Diaz was the one that suggested for you to. So how do you guys know? Yeah, how do you guys know each other?
He used to come up when I was in forensics, man. I was at the medical examiner's office, and he used to work for another funeral home, and he used to come out and pick the bodies up, and me releasing the bodies to him and other people that hey babe, this is my daughter coming in now. Hey, what's up? He would pick up cases that I would release, and we just carried on the conversation because he was in the music as well. So and basically that's it. He's a cool dude, man. He's a real cool cat.
Yeah, I went to elementary school with David, so we go way back. He one thing that he mentioned that I thought was pretty interesting is that he noticed at a young age he could watch gruesome movies and it didn't get to him, like movies where someone gets killed and on the movie you could see guts and blood.
Right.
And he said he didn't get fazed by it, so he kind of had an idea that maybe he could work in that industry, being a funeral arranger and not be affected by it. So to you, what was kind of the thing that called you to being a mortician?
Like I was saying, man, it was a calling from the Lord. It's just a lot of stuff. Thank you, sweetie. A lot of stuff that I saw, because I was into the horror pictures as well, man, the bloods and the guts. And when I was, like I said, when I started in the business, man, my first job was at Bowman Funeral Chapel. I was 12. And I was so excited being there and just seeing all the cases. And I used to hear a lot about coroner's office where they would go do autopsies and pick up bodies. So one day, man, I asked the boss, I was like, hey, I said, when you go pick that body up, can I ride to the coroner's office with you? And like I said, this was a family-owned business. And his uncle at the time was like, he was the oldest one. And he was like, well, what do you think, man? And Ernest, his name was Ernest Bowman. He's like, well, what do you think, Ernie? He said, do you think I should take little Russ down to the coroner's office so he can see what's going on down there? He said, yeah, it'd be a good experience. And he's like, you don't have nightmares, do you? I was like, nah, man. I said, I'm excited about this. So we went, and the body, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you back up? What were you doing at, so you worked there at the age of 12. Were you just doing like paperwork, or what were you doing during that time?
Vacuuming, indoor, outdoor maintenance, picking up trash around the funeral home, picking up trash inside the funeral home, emptying trash cans, working funeral services, setting up, the flowers on the stand, helping opening the doors for the little old ladies coming in and just being a cordial hospitality.
At that point, do you remember in your mind kind of what did you think of funerals? Like, meaning, I'm guessing at the time, if you're dealing with that, you didn't really see the dead bodies as much. So at the age of 12.
No. Oh no, I saw a lot of dead bodies, but at the same time, my focus was just the financial aspect of being a mortician and how much money they made. And these guys were millionaires because they owned their own business. There was a time that I wanted my own funeral home, but I started doing so much music and just I kind of lost focus on one thing. But I did start an accommodation service out here, and I had that business going for maybe like 10 years until I shut it down. Very successful. It was called Prior Mortuary Accommodated. I went around to different funeral homes, embalming cases for them. I had like maybe 8 or 9 contracts. So I was going around to these different funeral homes in the city, in San Diego, embalming, offering my embalming service. And then, far as it was just the money aspect. Just like I said, and they were very, very professional. Swag was off the chain on how they dealt with the public, and especially see how your swag is. It was a lot of attraction to women. And that was another one of the reasons why I wanted to get in it, because women are attracted to morticians. And I was like, okay. And besides being a musician, because they were all, there's a saying that say, like, and drum. And to get honeys that way, I can be a mortician to get honeys that way. But it wasn't about me getting in tune and sex women and none of that stuff, man. It wasn't about that. It was just, your personality and just the things that you do in the funeral home. A lot of women were very impressed on how, I would lay a body out. Like their loved one, their mom or their dad. Oh, I would have them come on. Oh, you just did a beautiful job. Or my mother or my aunt. Man, you're very talented. God has blessed you to do that skill, and I will really appreciate what they would say. But
so is the
that was it, man.
Was it like a would you say it's a more gradual what's the word I want to say, like your you seeing dead bodies, you dealing with the blood and guts, like it was kind of gradual for you, or just you think you're the type of person when you watch gory movies in the past, it just never affected you also? Or
it never affected me, because like I said, when we picked this case up from the coroner's office, it was an autopsy case. And I asked Bowman at that time, I said, hey man, can I see you embalm this body? And that's when he's like, you don't have nightmares, do you? I said, no. He said, well, come on in the back. But I didn't go too far to the prep room. I stood at the doorway. And he put the body on the table and he started taking the sutures out, and he opened up the flaps, and the chest, well, we call them flaps, but it's the chest. So he opened it up, he spread everything out, and you saw everything. And I leaned in there and I looked, and he pulled the visceral bag out, which is with the organs. And I was like, wow. Damn. And as a youngster, man, I was like, can he feel that? And he was like, nah, man, he can't feel that. He said, he's dead. He said, he said the soul is gone. He said, can't nobody feel that. And I'm just watching him, and he was one of the baddest, coldest physicians in the city, man. I mean, he would lay out a body perfectly, just beautiful, and people would go bananas because his work, that's what I would, because I trained students on how to, because I taught seminars on how to embalm the long bone donor, and I would teach them certain skills on how to do certain things. And I said, you always stand behind your work, because your first impression is your last impression for this family that's coming in to see their loved one. They don't want you to be like, oh, you just messed him up. He's ugly. I'm having nightmares, stuff like that. But you don't want families to do that. And my track record, knock on wood, I have a wonderful, beautiful record when I was in the business, embalming and doing the things that I needed to do to lay people out. That's why I would get a lot of calls, because my work spoke for itself. But getting back to the, that runs hand in hand on me being at a young age and seeing the things that I saw. I mean, I've seen a lot of gory stuff at, not so much at 12, but just, I got my first smell of a decomposed body at a young age. And when he was fixing it up, trying to get the smell down, because we had to take this to a funeral. And I'm just looking at this stuff, man. I'm like, wow. I mean, I'm looking at a bloated body with a tissue gas and just smelling odoriferous, and watching him calm the smell down. And he did a wonderful, great job. So I think that foundation, because that's where it started. And looking at the blood and the organs and everything else. So I never had a problem.
Was there? Oh, you never had a problem. I was about to ask, like, has there ever been a time? What were some times where you found it really tough to deal with the bodies or being a mortician?
I'm gonna tell you something, man. I had a not. I had a tough time doing people that I knew,
Mm.
and I'm gonna use it, and I'm gonna say this on here. You can keep this. This lady was a beautiful person to me. Um, she told me, and she's like my mother. I call her Big Mom. We used to joke, and she said, "Son," she said, "if something ever happens to me, I want you to embalm me." And I'm
Mm.
like, I don't know if I can do that. She said, "Well, you better, because I don't want nobody else touching me but you."
Mm.
And we so when she died, man, we they brought her in and they told me she's in the back. I sat in the back looking at her for about 30 minutes before I started.
Oh
I
man.
couldn't really, yeah, I couldn't, but they were checking on me. They was like, "Are you okay?" I said, I think I can get through this. But so I get kind of choked up about it, but I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Trying to, but she was very dear to me, man. Very dear to me. Very dear to me. And I've done I did her and I've done some other people, but she was that I knew, but she was one of my hardest cases to do. But
Mm.
I did what I needed to do because I can hear her cussing me out if I'm not doing her. So and I looked at her and I said, I hope you are happy on what I did. And when I go in the prep room to embalm, man, I ask the Lord to be in there with me because people want to, as as undertakers, well, morticians, the public confides in you to be respectful to their loved one. That's their precious gem. That's a person that they love. That was a living, breathing, eating, singing person that loved you and you loved them. And my job is to safeguard the public's health as well as put out the best presentation I possibly can to make your family proud. It's not so much about me, it's all about the family. And to do the things that I need to do to make that loved one of yours look the best at that point in time. Because as I said, for a family, the first impression is the last impression that they're going to see that loved one.
Mm.
And I've done many celebrities when I used to work at another funeral home up in LA. I've embalmed a lot of people, man. And another thing that was really touching to me is when I've done some children, especially when they
Mm.
were in car wrecks. But the thing is, as a mortician, families look up to you. You can't be coming in crying. You can't be coming in because they're coming to you for answers. They want you to be strong for them. You can't be weak. They're crying at your desk and then you're crying.
Yeah.
We have feelings, and a lot of folks think morticians don't have feelings, but we do, man. Especially when stuff hit home and it's people that you know, especially if it's a
Mm-hmm.
family member of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And like when my father died, man, it's there's a friend of mine told me this. He's like, and he's a mortician. He's like, we always place people on the front row, but when it's time for you to sit on the front row, it's totally different. And I told him, I was like, you know what, man? When my sister died, my grandmother died, my father died,
Mm.
and I sat on the front row. And the front row is mind blowing. It's mind blowing, meaning you're right in front of the casket, you're sitting on the front row, and it's your turn that people behind you that attended the funeral to honor you. And being in the funeral, man, it's a long day, especially when you're eulogizing, or should I say, burying your loved one. It's just a long day. Just a long day. Yeah. But each time my relatives was done to take us back there, we joke, we laugh. He said, I said, he better look good or she better look good because I'm coming home, look over them like a fine tooth comb. And he's like, boy, don't worry about it. They look good. But the hardest one was my sister. She was killed on a motorcycle. So, and that's why when people ask me questions, is there any other things that you like to do besides being a mortician? All I have is my music, and that soothes me.
Yeah.
You know, music soothes the savage beast, and music is a healer, and that heals me.
What's your thoughts on ghosts? Has it changed through the years?
Ghost? You talking about for spirits?
Yeah.
You know what, man? I don't get in. I don't get into it, but because I haven't seen any ghosts, I haven't seen any spirits. You know, there's a saying of God doesn't make ghosts; He makes spirits.
Oh, okay.
People would take ghosts. Ooh, you know, oh man, I done seen a cup get picked up and thrown against the wall, and I haven't seen any of that. I haven't, especially the prep room that I'm in, man. When I'm in the back, when I was in the back embalming, and it was just me, I will embalm from 12 midnight, 1 in the morning, 2, 3, 4. It's just me and a bunch of bodies in the back, not one move. And I try to get people to understand that a body will not move unless you move it. And I hear all the stories, people like, my friend said a body sat up on the table. That's a lie. Nobody sits up on the table unless you sit them up there. And my 30 some odd years in the business, man, I've never in my life seen that happen. Never. And I'm saying that directly worldwide on your show to people out there. Stop believing the hype. That is not true. That's dumb excuse. And people are trying to get a rise out of you, man. That stuff don't happen. That's what you call it. That's hocus pocus. That's not true. A myth. There you go.
As a mortician, what would be your dream funeral for yourself? If you passed away, but you could make your plans ahead of time, every detail of your funeral, what would you have and what would be different from an average funeral?
I have, man. Matter of fact, I was talking to my daughter last night, man. I was playing this song called You Are My High. This one of my favorite songs by the Gap Band. And I said, my funeral, man, I don't want sadness, the sad songs. It's going to be live. It's going to be off the chain. It's going to be a party. I want you to eulogize me, I want you to eulogize me like I'm in life, like things that I've done. Play the music, play the hip hop music. I don't want to be in no suit. I'm not wearing a suit. I want to be in something comfortable in my 3 stripes, brand new 3 stripes on. And once the funeral's over, you take them off. And I want to give them to my youngest son because it's stupid to bury some brand new gym shoes. I can't wear them. I can't wear them anymore. But just a party, man. I mean, a funeral it's not so much for the dead; it's for the living, because you're sending your loved one off. At the same time, you're having a great time, eulogizing him honoring him or her. You're not sitting around. I mean, you're going to cry. You're going to do this because you're not going to see them no more, but they're going to always be in your spirit. They're going to always be in your heart. They're always going to be on your mind. And like little details such as a smell that somebody may have. Oh, man, you remember he or she used to wear that smell, man. That used to be the bomb. Oh, she smelled good. Or this song, man, this song reminds me so much of Russell. I'm tearing up right now, but I'm thinking about him because he always played that song. Or we're listening to his music. We're listening to his joints that he put out. You know, you want it to be a celebration of life, man. You don't want to sit around and just a gloomy funeral service. And, I was telling my daughter last night about that when we were talking. And she's like, oh, Dad, I'm not coming to your funeral. I said, why not? I'm your father. Why wouldn't you want to do it? I couldn't take it. I said, well, that's when God comes into play. You got to keep living. You live for me. I left a legacy. You guys are my legacy. You got to continue on the journey. Make me proud. And I told her last night, I said, no matter how, if I'm dead tomorrow, I'm going to always be your father. But that's not going to change. I'm going to always be your father. And I'm going to always love you. I'm going to love all you guys. That's not going to change. So, yeah, that's it right there. Just a party and good time. It's going to be different. We're going to eat afterwards. You want to dance in the church or you want to dance wherever? That's cool. Kick the music up. I want my DJs there. Be spinning, cutting up at the casket.
What
so that'll be different.
What
that's
as a mortician, what tips or advice would you have for someone if someone just had a loved one in a car accident, and then how do they find a good mortician? How do they find a good funeral house? What key indicators should they look for? Is there a way they might could they get sort of scammed or ripped off, maybe ripped off?
You know what, in this business, you have some shady undertakers, but the thing about it is you go to a funeral home where you can, what's in your means, your budget. You don't want to go to a funeral home that's high priced. And there's a lot of funeral homes that can take care of you that are real good. They have decent product. They're caring. And a lot of them deal, you have to, the most important thing for any funeral home that's going to deal with a family, you have to have life insurance. You have to have insurance. Or if you have a lot of money that you want to put down on funerals, you can do that as well. But people nowadays don't have the means to just go in with big wads of money and put it down. You have to have, you can either have a pre-need or you can have life insurance. Like I said, life insurance is very important. Now, the thing is, there are some shady undertakers, but these undertakers are getting hammered because the state boards step in to see if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if you're not, there's stiff penalties. You can get fined, you can get even closed down. So the ones that's being shady, they're coming correct now because the eye in the sky is watching you. And you have to really come correct, handling great business and doing what you need to do. But the main thing is an affordable funeral service. Go where your finances will allow you to go. You don't want to go to one funeral home and they're selling like merchandise for $20,000, $30,000 caskets and whatever. They have a casket in everybody's means. At least some of them do. But I know which funeral homes are which that are spectacular, I should say. So you want to stay in your means.
If someone were to price funeral homes and look at each, like say funeral home A and B, and then if someone were to look at the caskets available in A, the caskets available in B, and they see similars, and they see funeral home B is more pricey even though it's the same casket, is that a key indicator, or is that not enough to really judge?
I'm glad you said that, man, because families do funeral home shopping. They'll go from one funeral home to the next funeral home to the next funeral home to get the best price. That's why I was saying stand within your means, because we had families that come in when I was in the business working at this one funeral home. They say, hey, can we get your price list? Sure. You can't deny families your price list. And then they'll take your price list, and then they'll go to another funeral home and get their price list. Then they'll go to funeral home C and get a price list, and then they'll compare all three. And they say, I think we should go to funeral home B because it's cheaper. The caskets are least expensive. They sell that same casket over here for that price. B, where we're at, they sell it maybe $1,000 less.
Yeah.
I like them. C has some good merchandise, but C funeral home is nasty looking. We don't like what's in there. They don't keep it clean or whatever. It's small, whatever. But we're going to stick with B because B we can stay within our means.
If
So yeah, it does happen. It's called funeral home shopping.
On that scenario, so say A is more expensive than B, but then is there a way to know that even though A might be more pricey, maybe they do better services? Maybe is there a way to know that the mortician there or the funeral arranger or the people working there is more, they take care of the bodies better? Is there in a way, I don't know, is there anything from your perspective?
I'm gonna tell you a way that you can find out if funeral homes are doing what they're supposed to do compared to the other funeral homes that's not doing what they're supposed to do. Always remember the community talks. And the community word of mouth will damage you, bruh. It will damage you. And if you said, we took my mom over to funeral home A, they did a horrible job. We're not going back to them. And dad died. We took him to funeral home B. Now, we like funeral home B. They did a beautiful job. They were smaller than A, but they were more up close and personal with us. A, so much going on. They're going on volume. And it's like they're breaking in all this money and all this volume. They don't care anymore. We used to have, our family used to always go to funeral home A. We're no longer going to funeral home A. We're going to funeral home B. And I'm going to tell my friends that I go to church with that don't take your relatives to funeral home A anymore. And like I said, the community talks, and the biggest community that talks is the churches. Because funeral homes they deal with churches. Yeah. Because of the members. And if you're not putting out a good product, fam, you're gonna get hammered. So you won't have to worry about trying to see how a funeral home operates on your own. Listen to the community.
Yeah. What do you think on your personal life? What have you taken from the mortician industry? Like, as in, whether it be you see a family mourning because I don't know, maybe the father treated them a certain way, then the father passed away, and then you were able to kind of think about that and say, man, I hope I never do that to my family as a father. Or I don't know, is there any stories from your time as a mortician where you think about, hey, I'm not doing that because I saw that?
Oh, you're talking about far as the mortician disrespecting family members?
Oh, no. Like more like life lessons. What life lessons have you kind of pulled from being a mortician?
Oh, I got you. Respect and love. Respect, love, and honor. Honor the family, respect the family, love the family. You have all three of those, you're not going to go wrong. You're going to be the most respectful, loving, successful mortician ever. Remember, you have a family. You want your family to be loved and respected, especially when it's at their time of need. And I service a lot of people, and I give unconditional love. I have never acted any different to any family member, especially when I'm doing their loved one. The fluids may be different as far as embalming, but everyone got grade A embalming. I didn't cut any corners. I didn't shortchange anybody. That's why my cases came out very well, because I wasn't a shady person. You're entrusting in me to do the best job I possibly can to make your loved one look good, because that presentation was your precious gem. You love that person that's in that casket. That once was your baby, your loved one. It's my job to do the best I can with what I have to work with. And it's respect, love, and honor. I'm honoring your loved one. I'm loving your loved one as if it's mine. And I respect the person that I'm doing. So those are the three things in the business that I've learned. And I've learned this from one of the greatest man in San Diego, and that's Mr. Hartwell Ragsdale II. He taught me this stuff. And Mr. Lawrence Smith, God rest their soul, they always told me, you respect that person you're getting ready to embalm. And he owned one of the prestigious funeral homes in San Diego, if not the prestigious. It's called Anderson Ragsdale Mortuary. And like I said, when I was doing music, I was on tour, and I came out here on the road with my group. And my manager at the time said, while you're working on your records, I want to keep you guys grounded. I think each of you should get a job. You find something that you're good at. So I went to the funeral home, and this funeral home treated me like family. And I learned so much from them. And like a big brother of mine named Leslie Lou, he took me under his wing. He showed me a lot of stuff. And because Ragsdale took him under his wing, and he became the manager. But you have to have respect, love, and honor. And, you know, like in Mortuary College, man, our professor told us, he's like, when you get in this business, one thing can kill you, shut you down, and even put you in jail. It's disrespecting a dead body. And being a shady undertaker. That can close doors, that can put you in handcuffs. So you want to keep yourself clean, and you want to continue to, like, I'm licensed in a lot of stuff because, you know, being a mortician and going through mortuary college, you have to have a license to embalm. Like, you have to have a license to drive a car. You have to be a license. You have to have a license to be a doctor, to give medication and things of that nature. Everybody has their place when it comes to being licensed. And morticians and physicians, we run hand in hand, because what you learn in medical school, I'm learning the same thing in mortuary college. You're going a little bit longer than me, but everything is universal. But you have to have, and they are taught a code of ethics of respect as well. Respect your patient, honor your patients, love your patients. That's your salary. Morticians, respect the dead, love the dead, honor the dead in the family, because that's your money. And like I said, man, morticians make a lot of money. Now, if you work for some businesses as a mortician, they may not pay you as well. But when you start your own firm, it's in your hand. Now, there are funeral homes that pay very, very well, but you have to put in the work to get that big dollar.
Is there changes from?
But that's what I learned.
Oh, is there changes in becoming a mortician from when you became a mortician than now? Do you see differences at all? Like, is the schooling harder? Is there more laws? Is there, I don't know, is there more to more than schooling that you have to do, or is it better to maybe get a job at a funeral home first and then kind of see if you're fit for that job? What tips, advice, or?
Ask me that again, because you started freezing up. Started breaking up.
Has there been changes in the career of mortician back then and now, as in going to school and then getting into that career? Has it changed back in the 80s versus now, or is it virtually the same? Just go to school, or would you suggest working at a funeral home first, then seeing if you want to get your degree after? What would you suggest?
You know what, things have changed when I was in school, because they added more classes and they're offering more degrees. See, when I was in mortuary college, they didn't offer the degree at that time, but now, you know, they have the associate's degree and they have the bachelor's degree now that you can get. So we just had our diplomas, plus we had the diplomas from the school, we had the diplomas from the program, we did our state board exams and everything else under the sun. I went to school. I did my whole program was 5 years. I did 2 years, and then I did a 3-year apprenticeship. And like with a doctor, it's called a residency. We call them apprenticeships. Because reason why I did it like that, because I was working full time at the time, and I was performing, doing music, and I was taking 4 classes a semester. And because I didn't want to flunk out, and there was a lot of people. We started with a big class, say like it was like 50, 60 of us. The class ended, matter of fact, no, it was maybe, I think it was about 50, 60 students. When it trickled down, it was only 25 of us that graduated, because a lot of people was dropping out because they couldn't hang. But at the same time, A lot has changed. We didn't have to dress up going to school. Now I think you have to dress up, wear a suit. In the old days, like in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you had to come to school. Uh, that was part of your grade. You had to come to school in a suit and a tie. And, you know, when I was going, you can wear shorts, gym shoes, and everything else under the sun.
Mm.
But only you had to dress up far as putting on your PPEs, you know, uh, personal protective equipment when you went in the embalming lab to embalm the bodies. Um, but yes, things have changed, and then there's students a little bit younger going in, and you have to be careful because there is I think they weed out certain things. They put you through tests, um, psychological evaluation to make sure you're on the up and up to do the cut the to be cut for this type of work. They don't want any freaks in the industry, you know. And but stuff has changed, man. Like I said, the age, they're coming in younger. They're excited. They know there's money to be made in this type of profession. And as I said, the education standards are even higher because they added more classes. So, yeah.
Well, what suggestions or tips would you have for someone starting out? Like, should they just go to school first, or I think?
Oh, yeah? I forgot. I forgot you asked me that as well. You know what I would do, man? Experience first. I would do, because you're going to go into an embalming lab and you're going to deal with cadavers. You're going to deal with fresh cadavers. You're going to deal with not so fresh cadavers, and you really have to have the stomach to do that. I did it like this. I served an apprenticeship. I started out doing that for 1 year, but I already had the experience because I had the background when I was in Dayton. But at the same time, I needed to get on paper with the state so I could get credit. Then I went to Mortuary College, and at the same time, I worked at a funeral home. But you can either start your apprenticeship first, or you can go to school and start an apprenticeship. But if you don't have any experience, when I speak to people, I say, are you really cut to do this? Because I don't want to see you pass out. And I've had people that pass out on me before, seeing what I was doing. And I'll say, you're really not ready for this. So you have to build up a nerve to get in this type of business, because it's not for the faint at heart, man.
Well, so it seems
when I was working.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm done.
When you say that it's not for the faint of heart, what were some of the things that you saw other students faint when you were doing something to a cadaver or something?
Well, at that point in time, man, I was at the San Diego County Medical Examiner's Office in forensic, when I was in forensics, and out there I would do evisceration, and we were eviscerating. I think I was taking out the brain, and we would train cadets, police cadets, and some of them cadets were some of the weakest, especially the guys. They were weak. They would come in like they were just Almighty Joe. Women, I commend the women because the women were the strongest. But these guys are sitting up here passing out. So it's when I took the brain out, is when they fainted. So it was a few. So the women were very interested. They was like, wow, can we hold the brain? We heard so much about it. It's not as gray as people say it is. I was like, yeah, you can hold it. I said, but be careful because it's very soft. So, and some of them were learning in anatomy class. Not only they were police cadets, some of them were trying to further their career by getting into the aspect of anatomy. But that, and just we get into eviscerating and just the smell, and they were a domino effect, just boom, 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 they would fall. So I used to get a kick out of that. I'm like, you ain't as hard as you think you are. I said, I can't wait for you to get in the street, because that's gonna be something different too. So but yeah, man, it's you have to have a real heart for this, and it's it, it'll start by just getting experience in the funeral home. To me, that's how I would go about it. Get your experience before you even try to go to school, because
Mm.
you're going to deal with embalming, but some folks I speak with, they feel, they say, man, I got to go to school, do all this. I said, it's not about the body part. It's about learning. It's business. It's about learning how to run a funeral home. And you're going to have to go through the whole thing. You're going to have to take accounting, chemistry, business law. You're going to have to do all the law. You're going to do psychology. That's dealing with your families. You're going to learn about funeral practices and procedures. You're going to learn dealing with uh, other traditions and how they do funeral service. And like when it's time for you to do, so if you get the Buddhist family to call you, you got to learn how to set up shop for a Buddhist family. You got to learn to set shop up for Catholics, Muslims, Muslims, everything. So, but yeah, you see a lot of stuff. You got to just prepare yourself mentally.
Is there a lot of female morticians?
It is. And I know some great ones. I know some that embalm better than some guys I know. So they do some great work.
Do
They do some
you?
great work. And a couple of them, I gave them some training.
Oh, my internet. It's so. I guess it hasn't been fixed. So there's something on my end. I think something. I don't know with the router, the internet. It's
Oh,
just terrible.
oh, okay.
Um, when you said that when the cadets would come in and then the it seemed like more of the guys are fainting. So do you think by chance
Mm-hmm.
females would make better morticians than guys, or is it just kind of, I don't know?
No, it's just at that point in time. Yeah, some guys that are not good morticians. And like I said, some of them, some of the ladies that I dealt with, man, embalming, they are beautiful. They do some great work. And I know some women that don't do such great work. And because I've worked with them before. And then I know some guys that ain't worth 2 cents. So it's it's all in your training, man, in your heart, you know?
Yeah.
You have to you have to love what you do and do what you love. You
What
know?
are some of the toughest things that you had to deal with as a mortician? So the one that maybe more business wise, as in you've dealt with, you said you had to deal with a close one, embalming a close one, but then let's say like maybe on the business side, is there anything that you weren't kind of mentally ready for? Just, is there more accounting than you thought as a mortician, or is there, I don't know, challenges?
Well, I try to prepare myself for each case that I get, but there was one that kind of blew me away, man. It was a floater. And what I mean by that, this is when I was in the business, uh, when I was in forensics. And a floater is a person that drowned at sea and and the body washed ashore. And when I took it out of the bag, I mean, when I unzipped the bag, it was just the smell, just boom. And just the condition the body was in, I was like, oh man, I didn't vomit or anything of that nature. I didn't pass out. But it's just that smell, and to this day, that's the worst smell in the world,
Mm,
man.
mm.
And but I wasn't prepared for that at that point in time, but then I got myself prepared when I had to, work the autopsy. So I was good after that. It was just opening up the bag, and it's just that fishy sea smell,
Mm.
and it was just very gamey, man. So, and then dealing with children that are abused.
Oh. Oof.
So that was you got to really get yourself prepared for that, man. And you feel for the family. The child is out of his misery, but it's just horrible the way that child died.
Wow.
Yeah, so you really mentally you have to get prepared for that. You really do.
All right, I'm gonna do the final question section. I think with my internet being so bad, we'll cut this a little bit shorter than normal, but I think we got a lot of good information here, so a lot of good content.
Okay.
So first question: what great daily habit or habits do you have?
What great? Oh, say it again because you kind of broke up on me. Great daily habits.
Yep. What great daily habit or habits do you have?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, habits I have, man. I have a habit of staying up late, putting beats together. Making music and doing writing. That's a habit when I need to be asleep for the next day. So my habit really is just staying up late. Goes off sometime, and I'll wake up again, and it's like 2, 3, 4 in the morning when I need to be asleep. So my habit is I need to break the habit of getting more rest. So
it's good and bad.
Rest is the key. Yeah, so that's a bad habit.
All right, next question. What do you know or think of cryptocurrency?
You know what? I know not so much about it. I feed off of my sons because they masters at it and they know what's really happening now. As far as investment, I've been reading up on it and I'm going to start getting into it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's the future.
It's the future, man. Mm-hmm. It's the future. It's the new wave of the future. And my son Robel, man, he knows that stuff backwards and forward. And he's like, awesome. Dad, I need to sign you up for cryptocurrency. Yeah. So
awesome.
But I've been reading and researching it, man. Yeah, so it won't be paper money anymore.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Everybody's going back and forth. So.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big advocate for cryptocurrency. I'm a software engineer. The blockchain decentralization is an amazing piece of technology that we humans have never ever had anything like it. Like it's the equivalent of me saying like back in the 80s, hey, there's going to be this thing called the internet and it's going to change everything. Right. And that's blockchain is actually that next layer. It's going to change everything again. It's a decentralized, no centralized entity. You could create companies that are autonomous, and it's just these amazing things that our brains can't even, most people can't conceptualize it because we're so used to going to a bank. It's a centralized thing. We go watch news, the TV news, and it's centralized, but decentralized could be a organization that collects news and nobody could control it, not even a government. So you're talking about these paradigm shifts. That's just this amazing thing that cryptocurrency happens to be on blockchain, but the decentralized nature of it makes all of it amazingly awesome. There are some bad actors.
And see, I'm great. Right. I'm glad you said what you said about that. Because see, the government try to have its hand in everything, especially in the music industry and in the funeral profession. But for something of this nature and this magnitude, that whoever started this stuff, man, I commend them because you cutting out the middleman and they can't touch you. Mm-hmm. Touch you at all. So technically, you won't have to pay no taxes on nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this is how the world is moving. It's like this is a new age. Mm-hmm. It's cryptocurrency now. People my mother's age, they don't understand it, and they never will because that's not their generation. So you really have to break down and explain to them what this thing is. Mm-hmm. And what you were just saying about the chain. I was reading about something about cryptocurrency. So that's an enlightenment that you just told me, and that's you just manifest something that I need to invest in because I was reading about that. What you just said.
Yeah. Blockchain. Like cryptocurrency is it's a coin that's made on a blockchain. So blockchain is like let's say an engine of a car. Blockchain is the engine. But say like Toyota makes the Camry. So like Bitcoin is like a Camry. It's it's a flavor with that engine, or a type with that engine underneath. And then like Mercedes has their SL3. I'm not even sure. Mercedes has the SL300, whatever model number. So underneath is the engine, which is blockchain, and then on top is the cryptocurrency. So like, so you could have Bitcoin, Ethereum, but they all have that same engine underneath. So it's a blockchain.
Okay.
So blockchain is the technology, and then the different types is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Ripple, and they do things differently. Like you got to have a 4-wheel drive car that might be good off road, but not so good miles per gallon on the road. So cryptocurrencies, each one have they have different benefits.
Right. Well, you know what? That's the wave of the future right now, man. And like you said, something even bigger is coming. So yeah, it'll be feasible for everybody to get a little bit of this.
Yeah, exactly.
I think something is going to be higher than the internet on that. You know, I got the money to do it, so I would love to get in there. And I'm just listening to Roman, and he's making sure. I'm like, man, what are you doing? He said, I'm just checking my stats. Oh, got another hit. It went up. I'm like, wow, okay.
That's awesome.
You little, and all that paper money is going to be gone. This is what I'm seeing now. Nobody's really spending dollars. They're doing plastic. And you have cryptocurrency ATM machines in these stores, man.
Yep.
So I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah. Yep. Good stuff.
All right, next question. What's the biggest problem for humans, and what should we do to fix it?
The biggest problem with humans, man, is racism and hate. If we could fix that and get over the hump with that, man, we will be A-okay. Like I was saying in the previous part of the interview, you know, you got to have love in your heart, man. You know, hate stresses out. It takes a lot to hate somebody, and it stresses you out. You know, people hate on folks for no apparent reason, especially when it comes to racism. Why do you hate that man? Why do you hate that woman? Because of a color. They didn't do anything to you. You can't surpass the color. Martin Luther King said, judge a person by their character, not the content of their skin. I go by the character. I don't judge you because of your skin. I've never done that. I wasn't raised that way. My grandmother always told us, be aware of fools and do what you need to do to get a fool out of your face. But far as the content of your skin, I would never ever judge a person like that, man, because we're taught to hate. Like when babies are born, you could set a black infant next to a white infant. They don't know the difference. And as they get older as a child, they'll play together, but it's what we feed them to make them hate one another.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point in a nutshell, man. How could we change it is start loving one another, man. And it's not hard to do.
What would be a systematic way to fix it? I know that's a tough question.
Ooh, yeah, you're right. Sometimes I'll say tune people out. When they start talking off the wall, just walk away. Just say, God bless you. I'm gonna pray for you. I love you. That's a systematic way to get to a person, because prayer helps, man. That's the only way I can get through to people, and it has worked for me. It has worked for me, and I sleep very well at night. As far as being up late, but when I'm knocked out, I sleep very well. I don't let the ways of the world bother me, and that's a way to systematic way. Really, to me, is to fix it. It's just to pray for people, man, and keep it moving.
Awesome. All right, next question. What's your favorite food or dish?
Favorite food is chicken wings.
Chicken wings.
Chicken wings and lasagna.
Chicken wings and lasagna, like together or separately?
Added together, but separate. My favorite. Those are my two favorites. Chicken wings and
If I said to you, you could only pick you could only pick 2 dishes to have for the rest of your life, would it be those 2? And that's all you could eat. I'm guessing that my internet's about to mess up again. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, you broke up on me again. Yeah, I can hear you now. Say it again.
If I said that chicken wings and lasagna was the only thing that you could have for the rest of your life, do you think you would be able to live?
No. Because even though I love those dishes, after a while you get tired of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would at least want to change something up. I like, but yeah, I would. You know, it'll be rough. Like, nah, I can't go off on it for the rest of my life.
What flavor chicken wings? Buffalo or?
Oh, you know, I like them. I like salt and pepper.
Oh, okay.
Chicken wings. I can eat them till feathers come out of my armpits. But but yeah, I love them, man. I love them.
Awesome. Last question. Shout out 2 friends that you think should do this podcast.
Say it again.
Shout out 2 friends that you think should do this podcast. Name 2 friends that you got that would do well on this podcast.
Well, it wouldn't be a friend, but you know what? My son, Russie P. And my partner, Bloodstone the Street Preacher. But he's another hip hop artist doing very well, doing big numbers. Either him or a young lady that's awesome on the mic, man. She kill a stage. Her name is Majesty. But you said just 2 people, so I would go Russie P, Bloodstone the Street.
Awesome. All right, D-Kompose. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. Thank you for sharing about your rap music, your career as a Mortician, and the love that you take with all that, and you push your love into both of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man, and I appreciate this. And big up to my man Dave for putting me on this. You know, telling me about the platform. He's like, man, I would love for you to do this show. And he said, my man is off the chain with it. I was like, okay. I said, I'll do it. I said, let me get some time and I'll make a way to make it happen. So thank you, my brother. Appreciate
Thank you so much. Thank you.